doors, prison doors would close. And that is something that is relevant even today. I'm very grateful to the organizers, Ravi, for inviting me here, because it shows that there's an interest to know what is happening around education in the other world. And the other world is the marginalized world that never gets into many times in census and never ever is planned for. So what is the status here today? 22.9 million children out of school in South Asia, out of which 19 million are in India itself. There are 226 million children from 4 to 14 in India. And it is said by 2020, 94 million students will be looking for jobs in China, and all of them will get employment. By 2020, 160 million students will need jobs in India, but only 84% of them will be employable. That is demographic disaster. So, why is this happening? 69% of children drop out by grade 8, 39% children drop out by grade 10 because of access, economic conditions, but mostly because there is no value in the schools that they go to. It is also said with basic literacy, we're not talking about education here, but basic literacy of able to read and write and do basic mathematics, 171 million people will be out of poverty in India. 171 million people will be out of poverty, and 12% there will be less global poverty. So you can imagine the impact of education. So what needs to be done? Make education relevant for the new age world. We all know that. We are educators, we've been struggling about it, and we've been discussing it the last 2 days. The world is changing very fast, but the education system isn't. And we, all of us here have gone to the same school system that our parents have, and we are creating the same school system for our next generation. So the curriculum needs to span cultural, economic, and interpersonal global relations. I think our curriculum, we haven't discussed this, but I feel our curriculum tends to be more local. It needs to get global, and because our students will have to apply for jobs globally, and we need to be cognizant of that. So teaching and learning must stop being local and become global. We've talked about it since yesterday that K-12 education has to teach 21st century skills. So how do we do it? We use technology innovatively. I won't get into too much details. We've talked about it. Virtual science labs, personalized learning environment, digital textbooks are on the way, and they have to be flipped classroom. We talked about it. And I think many a times we miss out the advantage of flipped classroom, where the child is also doing great amount of collaborative as well as independent learning, and does conversation and collaborative understanding and questioning in the classroom with the teacher. Flipped classroom for someone like Parikrma, and I'll tell you a little bit about Parikrma, is something that is difficult to achieve, but we've tried to do that even in our own small way. And of course, what we will see is content gamification, and games have to be introduced to make learning more interesting. At this point, I also have to contend that while we bring in technology into education, we have to be very careful that we do not convert learning into entertainment. So what should teachers do? Help students learn through strengths, use learning beyond the classroom, teach students to use their own brain. There has been studies which have showed that, if students are taught how to use their brain and understand what they can learn and how they can learn and when they can learn, they actually learn better. What timing of the day suits which child for learning is also something that a lot of research is happening. But it is getting the child to become more sensitive about themselves, about their own brain function. And of course, promote multidisciplinary learning, the web learning, the theme learning. All of us in this room know about it. So what should teachers do? They must learn. They must stop teaching and they must start learning. They must teach how to learn. They must teach collaboration. They must teach evaluation of information. Teachers must become curators. Curators of all the information that is available for a child, and must curate that. Teach the child to evaluate and teach love and tolerance. I cannot say enough of that, love and tolerance. I have learned in the last few years that you can actually teach love. You can actually teach tolerance. And when that falls in place in a school system, half your job is done. So we don't need teachers actually. We need coaches. We need coaches who will be personal life coaches, educational coaches, who will coach children how to learn. And when all that happens, there will be less social unrest. What we have often been scared to discuss is what is illiteracy doing in our country. And we need to address that, because not just unrest in the country, but global unrest is something that will actually propel us into taking education a lot more seriously. So what have we done? I've been in the corporate world for 26 years. I was the CEO of a large multinational company, and I'm doing something very different. But I volunteered with Mother Teresa for 7 years, worked with her very closely when I was a student, and I realized what service can do. So I decided to quit corporate life and get into social work. I'm not an educator. I chose education to do social work. And in the process, I got propelled into it, engaged into it, and I'm now passionate about it. So I started Parikrma from my kitchen table, as I've said earlier, with my life savings. The first school was on a rooftop in the slums of Koramangala in Bangalore with 165 children and 11 staff members. Now I have 5 centers, 2,000 children, and 200 teachers. Thank you. But what I'm really proud of, that of the 11 staff members, I still have 10 of them still working. So, what is Parikrma? We have 2 models, the 360-degree model and the E2E model. The circle, the 360-degree model, is we realized with children coming from slums and streets and orphanages, you cannot just send them into a classroom and expect results. You have to give them nutrition. So we give them breakfast, lunch, evening glass of malt, energy drink before they go back home. Many of my kids don't get anything to eat. When we first started Parikrma, I had the conventional summer holidays. My children lost 3 kilos of weight during summer. So since then, we don't close even for summer. We do summer camps and make sure that the children are fed. We give total health care from vaccination to hospitalization. But most importantly, we work with the families. We do 98% of my fathers are alcoholics. 92% of my children come from homes where there's someone in jail. So we're not only talking about poverty, we're talking about dysfunctionality, and that needs to be addressed differently. And education, of course. We run CBSE schools. So many times when I started Parikrma, I was told, you must be crazy. These children who are first generation learners will never be able to go to an English medium CBSE school. But today, I have 100% of my children going to college. I have many software engineers. I have doctors. I have, we've shown 98% attendance, less than 1% dropout, which is the lowest in the country. The second part of the E is the E2E model. We take care of our children from age 5 to 25 because we get them to come to school at age 5 and we support them through junior college. They come to our own junior college, then we organize scholarships and we send them to professional colleges. We mentor them till they are placed in jobs. So this is a typical picture of our family. This is where most of our children come from. This is the regular employment of the family. Most of our fathers are construction workers. Most of our mothers are domestic maids. The average income in the household is ranging from 5,000 to 8,000. 5 people to feed, 100 square feet. Many of my boys are made to sleep outside because just no place for them inside the house. So what do we do in academics? It's absolutely no compromise curriculum. We have no excuses for our children. Our children come to school regularly, as I said, 98% attendance. They come, or first generation learners, they need to be taught school habits. We even teach them toilet habits because they don't come from an environment where there is an attached toilet. And then they come to school at 8:15, stay till 4 o'clock. We have had no problems in getting them to school. We have a very strong remedial and counseling program. Remedial program for the catching up, because if the child is unwell or if there's a disaster in the family and they are very vulnerable and very susceptible to disasters, we need to help them to catch up. We do a lot of counseling program because many of our children are extremely abused, traumatized, and have seen horrific events around their lives. We have a very strong extracurricular activity. We are under 12, under 14, under 16 football champions in the city. And you see now how it has impacted the quality of life. Our parents are insisting on getting into houses where there is an attached toilet. This is their discerning ability that is slowly growing. They're moving from shanty, plastic homes, plastic sheet homes into small pakka houses. Then, actually, while their parents are improving, the children's performance is also improving. Because when the family becomes stable and steady, it impacts a child's education. So these are some of the snapshots where our children, last year, 86 of our families moved in from daily wage to permanent wage. 470 of our fathers saw increased income by 10%. These are the 35 fathers went for de-addiction, and if any of you have dealt with de-addiction, you know how tough it is. But 35 of our fathers are sober today. 126 single mothers got counseling. 19 mothers took stand last year in the community. They didn't allow child marriages. They took a stand about girls being sent to school, and they actually negotiated with the municipal corporation to get their roads clean. So the other part of the end-to-end model is bringing them at age 5 and taking them to college. 100% of our children went to college last year. I have 11 students doing engineering through CET. I have students in National Law School. I have students who are going to be returning today from San Diego. They represented the country in the Global Youth Leadership Summit. I have students who attended the Duke University Talent Identification Program. I have students who have won Change Makers Award, an innovation award which was instituted because they have started after school schools for migrant labor children in their community, and they have won cash awards which they gave as their first donation to Parikrma. Please note, all those who are much more than other students from other schools. So this is the Parikrma first doctor, this is the Parikrma first chef, this is the Parikrma first software engineer, and this is what we're doing is the way forward. The inner circle is the 4 centers which we call today our research labs. The outer circle is we have adopted 5 rural government schools, which we say has the Parikrma inside. Then we have started a teacher training academy only for NGOs and government schools. So we've signed an MOU with the government of Karnataka and are running a teacher training program for teachers of 300 really marginalized homes to live life on equal terms as your children that you go back to your schools. Then I think we'll have built a robust nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.